happens over the next 72 hours will change us as men.
It's a very divisive day. They've got no argument.
Australia, bro!
A noisy minority.
26th of January.
Australia Day.
I call it Invasion Day, actually.
Known as Australia Day.
We actually celebrate Australia Day.
Celebrate genocide.
Day that marks invasion.
Most people don't care.
Celebrating what a great country Australia is.
No, people talk about genocide and atrocities, and that is...
But it did happen, though.
Stop it! Everybody, just shut up. God. Let's solve this once and for all with the power of comedy. Sing Matilda, won't sing Matilda, you'll come, won't sing Matilda. Oh! Hello, everybody! Happy Invasion Day! Oh, so lovely to see you. Fuck off, it's really cold in here, okay? I'm wearing shorts. Because in rehearsal they said they could see my penis. Thank you for being here. I'm Tom Ballard. This is Tonightly, and it is January 25th, the day before a public holiday that everybody loves, and there's nothing wrong with it at all. So shut up, you commie! As we all know, the debate thus far has been nothing but respectful and intellectually rigorous. For example, in Melbourne today, people woke up to find someone had doused this statue of Captain Cook in pink paint. Either that, or a seagull desperately needs to see a doctor. Tonight on this special, there will be laughter, there will be white guilt, and there will be our guest, Alice Springs councillor Jacinta Price. She's going to be here, everybody. Councillor Price has been vocally opposing any movement to change the date. She even joined former Labor leader and friend of the show, Mark Latham, in his campaign... That was a joke. In his campaign to save Australia Day. Now, I'm just being told that Australia Day is going ahead tomorrow, so I guess the campaign has been successful. Fantastic. Good work, Mark. It was touch and go there for a while. First things first, though, as is only right and proper, to kick off tonight's show by performing the Australian National Anthem. Would you please welcome Bridie Connell and the Sydney Choir, Inner West Voices.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are young and mostly free, as long as you don't count Indigenous rates of custody. Our land abounds in stuff to mine, it's made us rich indeed. We love free speech unless you are Yasmin Abdel-Mahdi. If crocs don't kill you, bull sharks will. Advance Australia fair. Beneath our radiant Southern Cross, we love to switch PM. If this clips buffering, we'll blame the NBN. For those who come across the seas, we've boundless place to share. Affording rental properties is incredibly rare. America, please notice us. Advance Australia fair.
Inner West Voices of Bridie Connell, everybody. Get out of here, you fucking lefties. They're not the words at all. They got them wrong. Bullshit. And hey, just before we jump in properly to the show and the comedy and stuff, I think it's just appropriate that I make an acknowledgement of country. I think that's very important.
Tom, I'm just going to have to jump in just for a quick second. I'm from Legals upstairs. I heard you were doing an acknowledgement of country, which is great. You know, good for you.
Right.
But we do have a few legal disclaimers. So do the acknowledgement, but I'll just chime in with a disclaimer or two here and there.
OK. Well, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet here today.
So again, legal disclaimer. Traditional owners, yes.
Yep.
Actual owners, Sydney City Council.
OK.
So... Just... stop it. Shut up. It's just for legal purposes, if a traditional owner says you're welcome to the land, Don't listen to them. You need permits.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so the traditional owners, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, I would like to pay my respects.
We also need to acknowledge, the specific owners of this building, a Chinese consortium of investors.
What?
We wish to acknowledge their culture and rich history of aggressive foreign property acquisition.
No, what, isn't this building owned by the ABC?
Well, actually, no, it's technically like a lease situation. It's a very complicated legal framework of who owns it. Okay. The most important thing to remember is that Indigenous people don't own it.
Okay, all right.
That's the main.
Okay, now I'd like to pay respects to the elders past and present of the Gadigal people.
And I would also like to pay my respects to my elders.
Right.
My father, Tim.
Okay.
Just a very, very mean-spirited man, my dad. He was always drunk. He once consumed a live frog as a dare.
What does this have to do with legals at all?
That's nothing. I just wanted to get it off my chest.
Okay, anyway, I want to pay my respects. I want to say that this was, is, and always will be Aboriginal land.
In name only.
Okay.
Because we're not giving it back. Otherwise, where would we do the show?
Fuck off, Greg! Fuck off! Hot crowd tonight. First things first, of course, we should say part of Australia Day brings the Australian of the Year awards every single year, which is a great tradition. Once a year, we as a country look around and we ask, which one of us is the best one? Now, we record our show before the winner's actually being announced, OK? So we don't know who the winner is. Whoever won, I just want to say, I knew it. I always believed in you. Everyone else sucks. The history of the awards is pretty interesting. In the 50s, state-based organisations were trying to find ways to get people more excited about Australia Day, the most active of which was the Victorian Australia Day Council, which had grown out of the Australian Natives Association. Gosh, Tom, what's the association? Is that an association for Australia's native people? Fuck no. It was an association exclusively for Australian-born white men, you know, the natives, that even opposed intermarriage between Australians and Germans on racial purity grounds. Yeah, sorry, Hitler, I'd love for you to marry my daughter. I just don't want a dirty kraut ruining my pure bloodline. OK, it's tough saying that with his haircut, but... In January 1960, the Victorian Council announced that they would launch an Australian of the Year award, and the idea got increasingly popular, so much so that in 1975, Canberra decided to name their own rival Australian of the Year. Oh, shit! Canberra Kanye'd the Australian of the Year. Yo, Nobel Prize-winning chemist John Cornforth, I'm really happy for you, but I'm going to let you finish. But Major General Alan Stretton had one of the best Cyclone Tracy cleanup managements of all time! Of all time! Of all time, yo! Big Stratton fans in tonight. There's one outstanding issue we discovered when we looked into the history of the Australian of the Year awards. In 1994, the dating system changed so that winners were named of the year ahead instead of the year just past. And they changed it because the awards had become more about giving people a platform to discuss important issues that they cared about in the year ahead, right? But that change means that there was no 1993 Australian of the Year, which was a devastating blow for presumed frontrunners Peter Andre, Yahoo Serious, and everyone's beloved entertainer Craig McLachlan. I mean, oh, it's so sad. Now that I think about it, this could actually present an opportunity. Now, I'm a realistic guy. I know I could never win Australian of the Year, Tom Ballard like now, but man, 3-year-old, 1993 Tom, fuck yeah. That darling boy could win. He was amazing, right? He was prolific in the arts. He conducted groundbreaking scientific studies into the edibility of worms. And he was renowned for his charitable acts clearing landmines in Cambodia. Actual photo of my face. On Australia Day, we care about Australian things, like our Australian food, like lamingtons.
They're fluffy morsels of goodness, not cats. Dipped in chocolate and rolled in coconut. Of course, we're talking about lamingtons.
Yes, not lamingtons.
Yeah, lamo.
Not cats, Conji, that's very funny.
Is it funny, Sam? Is it really funny? Saying a lamington isn't a cat is fucking funny now. In all seriousness, thank God for Sunrise covering this huge topical story. You see, in November last year, lamingtons were taken off the menu at Old Government House in Brisbane, where they were reportedly invented because nobody was buying them in the cafe. Ah! Ah! Who can we hold personally responsible for poor sales of Lamingtons?
Millenniums were just not purchasing the Lamington.
Millenniums! Look what you've done, Millenniums. You've rejected sweets. Lamingtons are gone forever. Australia Day is ruined.
But it didn't last.
After hearing that after 117 years that the Lamington has been taken off the menu, there's been a huge uproar from the community.
And so it's now back, and we're sure these delicious desserts will remain a favourite for many years to come.
Boring story! I must say, all this talk of Lamington has actually made me really want a Lamington, though. Ooh! I'm going to eat one of these, and as I do, I'm sure Koshi won't say something in a way that would make me never, ever want to eat a Lamington ever again.
So we want to know where to buy the most moist, top-quality Lamington with beautiful coconut on it.
Well, that's ruined. In the lead-up to January 26th, 3 local councils in Victoria have actually ditched Australia Day, and that has made a certain person very, very mad.
Victoria's Liberal opposition leader, Matthew Guy, announcing councils which don't celebrate Australia Day will be sacked if he wins this year's state election. OK, can we have a look at that front page again?
Celebrate or face sack? What is that? What's a face sack? Is Victorian opposition leader Matthew Guy going to force people who don't celebrate Australia Day to wear face sacks? Ah! Basically, Victorian opposition leader Matthew Guy, seen here singing, "The hills are alive." Oh, I enjoyed it. He's saying that if he wins the state election, he will change the law so he can force all councils to celebrate Australia Day on January 26th. And if you don't want to celebrate and have a good time, you're fired! Which is pretty in line with his new campaign slogan, Matthew Guy, it's my party and you'll cry if I tell you. What a dingbat. My favourite thing about Australia Day is opinion polls. You guys like opinion polls? Yeah! I believe you. Australia Day opinion polls are great because no matter where you stand, there's a poll for you. If you're adamant the date shouldn't change, a poll from the Institute of Public Affairs says 70% of Australians are with you. Yet another poll will tell you a majority of Australians don't really mind if the date is switched. Face sacks for you! Last year saw a comprehensive poll released by Review Partners. Comprehensive because it went so far as to ask, what did you or someone else cook on the barbecue on Australia Day? Top answers being sausages, beef and lamb. Close number 4, penguin. Salty. I didn't eat a fucking penguin, people. Get the stick out of your ass. It's Australia Day. One question that seemed to stump a lot of people, when asked on which anniversary do you think Australia Day is held, the top 2 answers were the landing by Arthur Phillip, which is correct, but 21% said the discovery of Australia by Captain Cook. Because nothing sums up the Australian attitude as much as, yeah, close enough. I should note, the bottom answer to the question, on which anniversary do you think Australia Day is held, 4% answered something else. Ah, yes. Every year we come together to celebrate something else. How can we possibly forget something else? My grandmother died for something else. His dad died for something else. Lest we forget something else. Speaking of something else, Sky News' Paul Murray. He's something else. He gets very worked up about Australia Day. He doesn't think some people should have an opinion on Australia Day at all.
To the boring stuff of politics, and the Greens said that their priority for 2018 is to change the date of Australia Day. Now, Richard Di Natale, I will give a shit about your view on Australia Day when you decide to put somebody other than a white person into Parliament. Let's have a look at every single Greens MP that is currently in the federal Parliament. 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, all white. Just checking. When you're willing to give up your spot for an Aboriginal person, feel free. I know that you've got that Sheila in Victoria, but I'm talking senators. When you're willing to give up your cushy job to move forward the Aboriginal cause, well, then I'll listen to you. Till then, go jump.
Yeah, you tell him, Paul. Just one problem. I don't give a shit what you think. Paul Murray, I'll give a shit about your thoughts on Richard Di Natale's thoughts on Australia Day when you decide to put somebody other than a white person on Sky News. Let's take a look at every single Sky News presenter slated for programming in 2018. 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, all white. Just checking, when you're willing to give up your spot for an Aboriginal person, feel free. I know you got that bloke doing a show for 12 weeks on Sundays, but I'm talking prime time. So, Paul Murray, when you're willing to give up your cushy job to move forward the Aboriginal cause, then I'll listen to your thoughts about Richard Di Natale's push to move forward the Aboriginal cause. Until then, fuck off. Just in case you want to accuse us here at Tonightly of needing the same token gesture, I say no.
As a comic, I get excited every year the 26th of January rolls around. I also get anxious as an Aboriginal man because it's a stressful time for most Indigenous Australians. Now, a lot of people are going to roll their eyes at this segment because it's been peddled out a million times before. You know, yeah, we know that it wasn't always on the 26th of January. Yeah, we know that it wasn't a public holiday till 1994. Why is this handsome man repeating the same old things? And look, those are all fair points. So how about this? We're over it too. Every year when four white people on a couch decide to discuss the topic, social media lights up with insults about how Aboriginal people's opinions don't matter on the Change the Date debate. Sorry, didn't mean to make that rhyme. I guess we are really just born with rhythm. The easiest way to see what I mean is if you Google the words abos and wheels. People use the wheel as a way to say, why should anyone listen to them about anything? That lot didn't even have the wheel. If they couldn't create this basic step of human evolution, then fuck them. Those posts pop up everywhere. It's the same as throwing a handful of your own shit at an opponent halfway through a chess match. Sure, the other player may forfeit, but was that really checkmate? They are right, though. Europeans did bring the wheel to Australia, along with many other amazing things like diseases, massacres, incarcerations, and segregation. Did you know that the first wheel came from Mesopotamia back in 3500 BC, which is where Iraq, Iran, and Syria are today? Wheels didn't even roll around England until 2,000 years later. So basically, if you're clinging to a certain piece of technology, make sure it's actually yours. Yeah, we didn't invent the wheel, but guess what? Neither did you, dickhead. And another attack is when we get challenged about how black we are. And, you know, our opinion is valued on whether we resemble a weak couple mile or a panther's asshole. You know, if we could fit into a shitty Baz Luhrmann film or pretend to be Mick Dundee's sidekicks.
You frightened shit out of me. So I ought to, mate.
And for the people who are callow and mean enough to demand to see the racial resume of another person, there is a universal response to your inquiry about how black someone is. Blacker than you. Debates get derailed by insults over the perception of you and your race all the time. You know, descendants of black and brown, poor, uneducated, colonised people from all over the world live this reality. It's not a genetic trait, just like arts degrees, neck tattoos, wearing the flag as a cape, homebrew, and having a therapist aren't genetic traits of white people. See, stereotypes are pretty shitty, aren't they? But personally, despite all the pain and torment, I really hope Australia Day remains on the 26th of January. Because I'm a comedian who's Indigenous. I need the work. I mean, seriously, this is the biggest opportunity I'm going to have this summer. Honestly, I have nothing on until NAIDOC week.
Craig Quartermaine, everybody. Hey, I just want to quickly mention next week is going to be our Poly Week here at Tonightly. The week before Federal Parliament goes back, we'll be chatting to a different politician from across the political spectrum about what they see happening in 2018. Guests will include people such as Jackie Lambie, who I know was not in politics anymore but wants to get back in there. And also, Leader of the Opposition, Bill Shorten, will be here. That is Poly Week next week, everybody. I won't be wearing this then. Hey, with all this controversy surrounding Australia Day, some people are saying, oh, we got to change the date. Others say, no, we should leave it where it is. There's actually one Australian family who don't fit into either of those two camps. The Borkett family from Western Sydney. Now, for them, the date is totally irrelevant because they actually celebrate Australia Day every single day of the year. This is a real family. And Tonightly managed to get the exclusive.
Tony Abbott says that there's 364 other days of the year to wear a black armband and not celebrate Australia Day.
Quite frankly, that's just unpatriotic. You know, those people that don't celebrate it every single day, they just hate this country.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. So, yeah.
Who cares?
Get off your phone, Kayla, please.
I'm doing something.
Meet the Borketts. For them, Australia isn't just a day, it's every day. We don't celebrate Christmas. Apparently it's un-Australian.
Yes, celebrating any other day other than Australia Day in this house is a big no-no. I mean, we may as well be praising Allah and eating Ramadan.
Who wants damper?
Damper.
Aussie damper.
I don't want damper, Dad. I haven't done a shit in a year. Just, it's enough.
First of all, I know that's not true, Kayla. You've done plenty of shits because we're going through dunny paper like nobody's business. It's costing me a fortune.
Maybe it wouldn't cost you so much if you didn't have to get the custom-made Australian flag toilet paper.
You use Australian flag toilet paper?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We put a flag on whatever we can.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, sometimes we eat these Australia flag biscuits, right? And I like to say, one of the funny sayings that I have is, we eat a flag, we poop a flag, and we wipe our bumhole with a flag.
He literally says that every day.
So obviously Australia is knickknacks. So we've got a few ones around here. We've got this lovely sort of boomerangs there.
Made in China.
Look, street signs.
Made in China. Every single one of those is made in China.
Kayla, do you want to come and hang some of these in your father's beard? Maybe participate for a bit?
Yeah, that'll be a fun activity.
Obviously.
There you go.
That's it.
It's actually pretty fun.
Australians.
So let us rejoice for... Alrighty. This is the piece of resistance. This is what I like to call the Australia loaf. Okay, so it's a triple thread. It's got a sausage roll inside a pie, stuffed inside a giant lamington. It was Stanley's idea.
Oh.
He likes putting things inside of other things.
Oh, that's a bit cheeky. I'm going to tuck right in. Here we go.
Dad, you know that none of those things are even Australian?
What do you
It's true.
mean?
It says sausage rolls and pies are British and eaten all around the world, and the lamington was actually invented by a Frenchman.
I cannot believe this, Kayla.
Constantly looking stuff up. You constantly is un-Australian.
Political correctness gone mad.
Hate it!
Oh, fine. Where are you going? To school?
I'm going to Berlin. I'm actually going to move away from you.
We're going to talk about this. Can the cameras off, please?
Yeah, just stop. Can you just stop? Just give us a minute. Family meeting.
It seems that today is not a celebration for everyone.
All you do is talk about Australia. That's all you do,
Yeah,
Dad.
because it's the best country in the world, and it is objectively the best
Where are
country.
you going to go? Where are you going to go? Africa?
I've got chocolate all over my bloody hands.
do,
from that
you
lemon
do.
tea. Shouldn't I just go back in?
Right.
Let's get back.
Don't.
I'm not going to touch you, don't worry. So, Kayla, what's the matter?
It's just really lame celebrating Australia every day. It's kind of disrespectful, like, to Indigenous people, you know? We did kill them and everything.
But it's part of who we are. Like, if I can't celebrate Australia Day every day, I don't even know who I am anymore. I'm like this husk of a person. These traditions are all I have, Kayla.
Mum, it's not traditional. We only started doing this a few years ago, and most of these traditions you just made up.
And if this is a tradition that we can't all agree on and it's going to cause this much fighting, then maybe it's time we start a new Borkett family tradition, something new we celebrate every day.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, what?
I don't know. What are you into, Kayla?
Yeah, what do you like?
I like dog videos.
I like dog videos.
Yeah.
We are the Borketts and we love to laugh at dogs. Look, Kayla, Mum and Dad are dogging.
Come on, Kayla, join in. Doggy style.
Finally, something they could all enjoy. And perhaps a lesson to us all.
I hate this fucking family.
What a heartwarming story. My guest tonight became a town councillor in Alice Springs in 2015. Last year, she wrote an opinion piece that got a fair bit of attention, opposing calls for the date of Australia Day to be changed. This year, she's lent her voice to Mark Latham's campaign to save Australia Day. Take a look.
Mummy, look what I
made. Have you shown anyone else this, darling?
No, I just made it.
Australia Day is under serious threat. Changing Australia Day doesn't change the lives of Aboriginal people in remote communities. We have to come together as a nation to solve these critical issues and do it proactively. Save Australia Day. It'll be a sad day if we lose it.
Please welcome to the Tonightly Invasion Day special, Jacinta Price Nampa Jimpa. Welcome. How did I go? Was that all right? Thank you for being here, Jacinta. I really appreciate it very much indeed.
You did all right, but it goes Jacinta Number Price.
God damn it! Now I've lost all my woke cred. Oh, what an ass! I apologise. I have to ask you about that ad that you made with Mark Latham. It's a bit shit. I'm sorry. There's no other way to say it. Like, honestly, when I watched it, I'm like, that's close to a sketch we would do on this show to satirise people's hysterical reactions around Australia Day. I'm sorry. Like, what is the pitch there? What are your thoughts on that particular ad when you saw it?
I do have to say that my part was the part that you saw.
Yes.
That was my part.
You didn't write it, you didn't film it, you want to distance yourself from all such things.
If we have to do another one next year, I'll be taking full control.
Do you know what I mean, though? Because, like, that to me doesn't serve the argument, because I see that and I think, well, that's ridiculous. That's never going to happen. So this supposed threat I'm hearing about Australia Day doesn't really exist.
But really, is it that ridiculous? That Orwellian kind of...
That a mother would take a drawing from her child and put it into a paper shredder because they're not allowed to celebrate Australia Day? Yeah, that's ridiculous!
I have heard weirder. No.
And the Greens are installing security cameras everywhere? What do you hear when you put your arguments out that Australia Day should stay exactly where it is? What's the response that you hear from people?
Well, I hear from people that, they want to change it.
Yeah.
Well, I hear that they want to change it because they feel like, you know, it hurts them. I don't get that. I don't get that. Maybe that's just me, but I don't get that. I get the idea a celebration is about celebrating, and it's not about celebrating, you know, the deaths of people or the horrible things that have happened in our history. It's about actually looking at where we are as a nation now and going, we're pretty bloody fantastic, actually. We really are. We're a good bunch of people, I truly believe. And I think that's what we need to focus on more so, because it's a celebration.
Why does that celebration have to happen on January 26th?
Because I think it's a really significant date in our history. I think it marks the very beginning for us. And the other argument is that if we don't know our history and that we need to learn it, well, shifting it from that date is disregarding that particular date.
How is it disregarding that? I hear this a little bit, and we've heard it even from the Prime Minister saying people want to change the date, are trying to deny our history. From my point of view, it's almost the exact opposite. It sounds like people who are calling to change the date are looking at the history, the bloody history for Indigenous people. It's not the totality of that history, but particularly when it comes to issues of invasion and genocide and such, which do come up when you talk about Australia's history. They look at that history and they say, we're not denying that, we're acknowledging that, and we say that the date when that started is not an appropriate time to celebrate everything about this country.
Well, so it happened probably every other day of the year because that's what happened within our history. So what I haven't heard yet is an appropriate day for us to celebrate yet, besides the 26th, which is when, in 1949, we became Australian citizens as well as British subjects, and that was everybody. And that's why we have the citizenship ceremony on that day. And for our council in Alice Springs, that is the most popular day for people to become citizens. There's over 300,000 migrants that became citizens on that day. Do we say, righto, sorry guys, but this is no longer, we're not going to share this day with you anymore because we're changing it.
Do you think your position reflects the majority opinion of Indigenous people in Australia?
I can't claim one way or the other. Nobody can claim one way or the other unless, you know, we put it to a postal vote, I guess.
We love them here. We love postal votes. Yes, please.
And spend ridiculous amounts of money. No, I can't say. All I can say is that I speak on behalf of those who do agree with me.
But you've talked about like a silent majority and so on, like within the Indigenous community that either don't care about this thing or are happy where Australia Day is, pretty much.
Or they don't want to speak out about it because, like me, who's got a big target on my back now, they'll cop, you know, all sorts.
So, but what do you think about when you hear about things like in 1938 it was declared a day of mourning, there were people protesting this date way back then, the Reconciliation Australia, the Healing Foundation, the National Congress of Australia's First Peoples, Marshall Langton, Warren Mundine. You can kind of pick your poll to suit your needs, as we said before in the show, but there was a poll saying 54% of Indigenous people are in favour of change, 50,000 people turning out to protest in Melbourne last year. There is something there, right? That's not just the pursuit
Definitely
of
in
some
Melbourne
people.
and Sydney. Absolutely in Melbourne and Sydney, but there's a whole other, rest of Australia.
What? I've never heard of it.
As well. and like I've mentioned, my family, we had the last sanctioned massacre in 1928. My family were killed. My grandfather was a survivor of that. I heard from my own family members what happened. We had a commemorative ceremony 75 years after it happened, and we invited the descendants of the killers to come to that, to sit with them in an act of true reconciliation and say, we don't blame you for literally what your grandfather did. And the killers, mind you, were Aboriginal as well as white Australians. We've got to remember that our history is complex. It's mixed up.
Did you have a party on that day?
Well, no, we didn't have a party, but we certainly held one another. And my elders cried on the shoulder of the descendant of our killers. But then we smiled. We were smiling at the end of it. We had let go of the grief. We had forgiven and we were smiling, and we want to have another one of those events.
If we don't change the date, do you think anything about Australia Day should change at all? Anything about the way we approach the day?
See, that's what I think should happen. The way we approach the day should be the thing that we change. We take the beginning of the day for those who want to reflect, learn about our country's history. We can all reflect and understand what went on, learn more about it, and then move and progress throughout the day like we've moved and progressed throughout our history to where we are now, where we're a shit-hot nation.
Tomorrow I'm going to an Invasion Day rally to make a funny video.
You wanna come? One?
Yeah, I'm going to try.
You're going to try. That's going to be really interesting.
High five.
High five.
Thank you very much. Councillor Price, everybody. Thanks for your time. Hey, that's pretty much it for our Invasion Day special here at Tonightly. Thank you so much for watching. I think we've pretty much solved everything. You're welcome. And we talk about this a lot on the show, this recurring debate about our national day. It's very complicated. Sometimes it's very ugly. Sometimes it's pretty stupid. I don't think it's going to go anywhere anytime soon. There's not a lot of widespread support for the idea of changing the date of Australia Day at this stage. There's no great political will from the major parties about it. I'm pretty sure we're going to be back here next year doing something pretty similar. I hope at least. Please, Michelle Guthrie, please renew our show. It's all very complicated. I think we can agree on that. Here are some things that I know, okay? Tomorrow, all across this country, really lovely things are going to happen. There are going to be families and communities that are going to come together, people are going to sing songs, there'll be barbecues, and thousands of migrants to this country are going to become citizens. I think that's really awesome. Also tomorrow, tens of thousands of people around the country will use their democratic rights, their freedom of speech, to protest the date. Some of them calling for us to abolish the day completely, some say we should change it. I think it's awesome that they can do that, and I think it's pretty cool that they're going to do that. Also tomorrow, in backyards across this country, young people will be playing beer pong and fingering each other. And as long as it's consensual, I say go for it! So I know that. I also know that I love this country. It would be ridiculous for me to think otherwise, just looking at my crazy, privileged, lucky life. I know that. But I also know it is not unpatriotic to criticise one's country and to want it to be better where possible. And finally, I know that no matter what you think about January 26th, I hope that we can all agree that we've got some unfinished business as a country when it comes to our nation's first peoples. And we can and we've got to do better. Not just symbolically feel good better, like actually do better. Here is a nice thing that you can do. You can head to the Triple J website. You'll see they're partnering with AIM Mentoring, a brilliant organisation that's all about helping young Indigenous kids finish high school and reach their potential. You can also grab one of these sweet, sweet T-shirts featuring a design by a student in the AIM program, or if you've got some spare cash, you can just make a donation. No matter what you're up to tomorrow, I really hope it goes well for you. I'm sure that we can figure this out as a nation. After all, guys, we're all Australians, right?
Actually, I am a New Zealander. So.
Yeah. I'm a New Zealander too.
What?
Yeah, I'm a Kiwi as well.
Fuck! Well, I guess it's just you and me, right, Craig?
Sorry, Tom. You're all immigrants to me.
God damn it! Thanks for watching, everybody. Tune in for our Best Of show tomorrow night at the family-friendly time of 9:17 p.m. That's how it's listed on the site. We'll see